Welcome to a new edition of the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino. On this episode, we talk with entrepreneur, coach, and author Dawn Abbott. She started her first company at 21 years old and still owns that company and two others. She has been through the trenches and made all the business mistakes that can be made while growing the first business to a team of 20 with multi-million-dollar revenues. She is passionate about helping small business leaders tactically and with their mindset to grow their business and have the life that they want. Enjoy this interview.
Well, Dawn, thank you for taking a minute out today. Before we get into your life as an entrepreneur, coach, and author, I want to know, the last 3 years with COVID has been quite a thing. It's affected all of us differently. How did you survive COVID, and how has it changed the way that you live your life and conduct business now that the world's picking back up and getting busy again?
Whew, that's a big one. Yeah, it affected us from my event business hugely. We went from, multi-million-dollar revenues to 98% revenue cut overnight, and had to lay off a team of 20 that I loved that were around for a long time. And we had to sell a building, we had to sell trucks, we had to sell inventory, because it took a full almost year and a half before the events world, really came back. And then the second part of your question was, how are we doing business differently now? I think the one thing that I should definitely bring up is, of that team, when we started hiring people back a year and a half later, most of them had other jobs and things like that. And because of us having a strong culture and a great purpose as well as core value alignment, the first 8 people we hired back were from that original team, which made when the faucet turned back on much easier. It could have been horrible, right? Because all of a sudden events start happening and we need people who know what they're doing. And luckily we had that. So that was a huge blessing. And then during the time of the shutdown, we made a lot of changes, with inventory, having to reduce things. We stopped hanging on to things that weren't profitable. We really were able to spend the time to dig in and look at where we could be more efficient. And so, we're doing more with less. Our profit margin is higher now. I think that answered both of those questions.
You certainly did, absolutely. So, Dawn, to get a better handle on what you do exactly, I know on paper it says one thing, but let's get to kind of something that's a little bit more relatable. I'm going to put you in front of a bunch of third graders at a career day, and one of the kids will look up at you and say, "What do you do for a living?" How do you answer that child?
I would say, so the event business that I just talked about is we bring fun and games, things like inflatables and rock walls, to events for schools and corporations. What I do every day, because I'm not in the day-to-day operations of that business, is I help other businesses do what I've done in my own business, which is to get what they want from their business and have their business be a vehicle for their life versus steal their entire life. I spent 32 years as a small business owner and took all of the hard knocks and learned all of the lessons because I didn't know what I was doing. And now I help business owners understand their vision, who they are and where they're going and how they're going to get there. I help them get the traction they need to make that vision a reality through systems and processes. And lastly, I help them create healthy, cohesive teams and a great culture so that they can scale and build the business of their dreams.
So when you were in the third grade, what was your dream when you grew up? What did you want to become?
I wanted to be either a teacher or a therapist. And I feel like I took a really long way around to get there, but that's what I feel like I'm doing now when I help other entrepreneurs, is I'm teaching them a set of real-world tools and coaching them through using those tools. And I'm also quite often a business therapist, right? So, yeah.
So, you give a lot of yourself. There's a lot of you that you're trying to help other people achieve their dreams. Let's go back to your childhood. Talk to me a little bit about where you were born and raised, and how did these seeds get in you that have sprouted into who you are today?
Sure. So I was born in California to some very young hippie parents in 1969, and they moved to Colorado with me, obviously, when I was 3. We camped for 3 months on the way from California to Colorado and landed in Aspen. And I spent the first half of my life there and the second half in Conifer, Colorado, which is also up in the mountains. And I've only moved to Denver the end of high school, my last 2 years in high school, and I've been here ever since. In terms of seeds it's funny you say seeds. I think entrepreneurship came early. I feel like that's just kind of either in our DNA, or we have to really work hard to be entrepreneurs. And I remember being, I think it was 3rd or 4th grade actually, that I had found a bunch of marigolds and pulled all their seeds out and put them in baggies and started selling marigold seeds. And so that was my first foray into being an entrepreneur. And I just didn't take a traditional path. I didn't go to college. And so I knew that the jobs I might end up in were sort of dead end, or I knew that there would be a ceiling on me in terms of any type of corporate climb, and knew that really to get the life that I wanted, I had the work ethic, and I knew I had to do it for myself and on my own.
The perfect analogous metaphor, answer and question right there ever.
I know, that's so funny. You said seeds.
Yeah, it worked out really well. So I'm curious, in our lives, for you to garner the strength to help others, we're only as good as those that we look up to and admire. And I'm curious who your hero or role model's been in your life.
I think my very first hero or mentors were my parents. They worked really, really hard. So I got my work ethic from them. I also think there's, sort of that flip side of belief systems. They also never really got any traditional success from all of their hard work. So I think I had to work on getting smarter and working smarter rather than I had to break myself of the hard work ethic and realize that this is too hard. And then I think in terms of, mentors, there's been so many. Gosh, I think, if you look at maybe some of the traditional, I would say Mother Teresa I mean, some of those kind of traditional people who are doing something in terms of leadership that serves others. I also, dig on coaches like John Wooden and, just some of the way they lead a team and the way they lead people and love people the same but different. I love that, right? Like that, in terms of my leadership, I think I've garnered a bunch from them.
Of all of the people that are alive on the planet right now that you could meet potentially, who would you love to meet and talk to?
I would say Oprah Winfrey. Yeah.
Excellent.
I would say, Oprah Winfrey. Just, pick her brain on growing a business and being authentic and leadership, and definitely.
Wonderful. So every day we wake up, we have these motivating forces that make us do what we do and be who we are. What has that been for you? What motivates you through the day?
I think I love entrepreneurs. I think that's one of the things. And I also want to see them live a life that's more passionate, that's more in touch with who they are and not work so hard. So I think that is why I get up and am a business coach, even though I have another business that supports me financially. I want to get up and see other business owners be excited about their life and understand that their business is just a part of it.
So when you get to the end of that proverbial day, how do you look back and quantify a good day?
That I was myself, that I was completely aligned with my values, that I pushed my mission and purpose of helping entrepreneurs forward in some way, shape, or form, that I was able to help somebody in some way today. I think that, feels like success. And then I, end it with some gratitude and with my family.
So if you have a dream tonight, you run into the younger version of yourself, say in your 20s, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on the wisdom that you've gained and the roads that you've been down, the things that you've overcome, what would you tell your young version?
I would tell her to figure out who she is and just do that really well. Just be that.
So what's been one of the best fan letters, so to speak, best compliments you've ever gotten from a client for the work you've done?
I think one of the recent, clients, it was just about we couldn't have gotten through this pandemic without the systems we put in place and the coaching that I gave, that, it was a tough time, and because they kept using the tools and they kept having the meetings and doing things the way they knew it would work, it was a lot less chaotic. That made me feel good.
So what's been the one thing that you've done in your life that you're the proudest of, that you look back and it always makes you feel good that you did it?
So besides starting my businesses, it would be being a wife and mom. I think I've done that to the best of my capability and made sure that those two roles were always priority. And so I look at two grown children and one still in process, and I'm very, very proud of the people they are and the hearts that they have, and they know right from wrong. And yeah, probably it.
So, the one thing that's always key about, especially being an author, is that, there's always those books that either make us want to write or make us want to read more. What was that for you growing up? What was that one book you remember, the first one that really gave you that urge?
I think I first of all, I remember high school doing a huge essay on John Steinbeck and actually having to read every single thing that he wrote, not just the Grapes of Wrath, but everything that he wrote in order to do this essay. And I remember thinking that writing is hard, right? Like wow, to truly be an author, he has written so many things, from articles to huge novels, right? So I think that was a piece. And then I remember The Little Prince, which still sits on my bookshelf, it was just about, writing a story, but that had a deeper meaning, that touched people in a deeper way. So that's always been a favorite since I was much younger.
Yeah, it's funny. You're the one of the first people that really kind of touched a nerve with the reason why I asked that question. My first book was The Grapes of Wrath.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It was wonderful. Yeah. It was the gateway drug, so to speak. So
right. That's an powerful story.
Yeah. I'd never read anything like that. So everyone out there has a perception of you, your family, your friends, fans, clients, but ultimately you live your life. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I mentioned it before. I'm a wife and a mother. I think I'm human first before any of the other roles, so I'm flawed. I think I'm always learning and always growing. There's no way I'm any type of guru, but I do see myself somewhat as like a Sherpa, right? Like I've climbed this mountain before and I can help you along that path or that trail. However, I'm learning every time I take the trail, right? I'm learning something alongside you or learning about a new trail or whatever. So I'm a constant work in progress, even though I've had a lot of experiences and a lot of mistakes that I own and have learned from. So I think, yeah.
So, Dawn, if anyone out there wants to learn more about you, what you offer, your services, hire you, anything related to your world, where's the best place for them to go?
The website, probably, which is www.abbottcoach, and Abbott is ABBOTT, coach.com.
Dawn, this has been wonderful. Thank you for opening up. Thank you for giving me your story. I really appreciate it. Good luck with everything.
Thanks. I appreciate your time. Take good care.
Thanks for tuning in to another famous interview with Joe Dimino, where we cover the world of art, literature, business, spirituality, music, and more from around the globe. If you want to hear more interviews, visit the Famous Interviews with Joe Dimino channel on YouTube. You can also find us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks again for listening, and until next time.